few places on the planet where they love their basketball team the way they do in the Bluegrass, and it seems like an eternity. Only been since 1998, but Kentucky wins a national championship. The first one. Are you showing them the three goggles? Dick Vitale is here. Wildcats are the national champions after beating Kansas. And one of the perceived weaknesses of this team, though the percentages were pretty good on the season, could they hit clutch three-point shots? And they did that. They made the big plays when they had to against Kansas.
Well, I thought the big three was certainly Teague. When the lead got down, it looked like Kansas made that incredible run, and then all of a sudden he hit a three to get it up to 10. But I thought the game was really established in that first half by their transition game. They attacked. They really attacked the basket. Teague did, Kid Gilchrist did, and they scored, and they got the big lead. We're up 18, and they had only no baskets out of Anthony Davis, but he was a major factor with his rebounding and defensive ability. This was a combination of a team effort, brilliant coaching job. I do not buy any shape or form John Calipari telling me, my legacy, it doesn't matter. Nonsense. He wanted this championship so badly from the days I saw him at Massachusetts. He's been building for this moment.
We talked to Jim Boeheim before the game, and Boeheim talked about how it's different for a coach once he finally wins it. You know Calipari very well. How do you expect the tune to change a little bit now that he does? I think you called it in the pregame show a 5,000-pound gorilla. Not all that weight's off his back. How do you expect him to change?
He's such a competitor, just like a Mike Krzyzewski, a Roy Williams. Those guys live for today. Yesterday, the historical moment is great, but I know John Calipari well. It's all about being better. He'll be on the phone tomorrow. He will be all over guys like Noel, Shabazz Muhammad. Trust me, this guy is about winning, 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 and he does a masterful job. Watch the way his players relate to him. He communicates exceptionally well. And I think, despite all those critics saying no Hall of Fame, he's starting to do things that's worthy of Hall of Fame mention.
And if I might borrow a phrase that you've used before, they are jumping for joy in Lexington and celebrating the Wildcats National Championship, the 8th in their storied history. Dick, you mentioned that Calipari's all about winning. No team in the history of the tournament has ever won 38 games and been crowned champion. Does this make Kentucky not only champion, but one of the great teams of all time?
Well, people will certainly talk about that and debate that issue, and I think that's an argument for another time. However, saying all that, right now they're the best in 2012, and I think nobody can deny that. They were really consistent all year, had a brilliant year, other than a heartbreaking loss to Indiana and the loss to Vanderbilt when they really had command of the game and let it get away. But I think when you start talking history and you start talking about Bill Walton's teams and Lou Alcindor's teams and those veteran teams of Georgetown with Ewing and company. And what about our colleague, Bob Knight's team that went undefeated with incredible team effort when you talk Wilkerson and May and Benson and Abernathy. I mean, that team was special. Buckner, great leadership.
What do you think it says about the culture of the one-and-done kids? There so many people had said, well, maybe you can't win a championship when your team, the cornerstone of your team, just going to be around for a year. Calipari and Kentucky have done it now. Do you think that impacts the perception people will have about kids coming to school for 1 year?
That's a great point, Reese. I'm really glad you mentioned that, too, because I think that sort of documents what a tremendous coach he is, that you could have a change of a lineup on a regular basis over 3 years since he's been at Kentucky, have a whole new team basically come in, get them to blend as a unit, take a bunch of egos who are McDonald's All-Americans, superstars, entourages, people telling them how great they are, and having them all buy in. We must play defense. We must play as a unit. We must play as a team. We must share the basketball. You know what stat blew my mind in the first half? I'll tell you what blew my mind. The equal distribution of shots. The number of shots that each player had taken in the game. You think when you look at Anthony Davis, he's the fifth most shots of that team. And that just shows you how they buy into being a team and unselfish. And that equates to one guy. The leader, John Calipari, fantastic coach. All I would tell people that doubt him as a coach, go watch a practice session.